Well, much of the reason for the U.S. and Mexico's strained relationship, of course, because of three hot button issues: fentanyl, cartels, and migrants. The fentanyl crisis has hit every corner of the U.S., finding its way into the lives of millions of people, resulting in deaths surging year after year. This year alone, more than 6 billion potentially lethal doses of fentanyl were seized by federal law enforcement at the border. That is enough to kill 330 million Americans 18 times. And cartels are at the heart of it. They're also helping smuggle migrants over the border and charging thousands of dollars per person in many cases. So far this year, Border Patrol has apprehended more than 2 million migrants at our southern border, with that number expected to rise before year's end. So let's bring in Michael Brown, an expert in counter-narcotics technology, also a former DEA senior special agent. Michael, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. We know fentanyl is a huge problem in the U.S. How important is it for us to hold Mexico accountable?
Well, when we talk about fentanyl, we're talking about a very complex fentanyl supply chain that not only involves Mexico, but it involves China, right? So the true path to tackling the fentanyl situation will require trilateral communications and cooperation from China and Mexico at the same time if we are to have any hope of reducing the flow of fentanyl into the United States.
And so talking about, the trilateral aspect of all of this, Michael, if we know that the cartels, really control much of the fentanyl that ultimately is flowing into our borders, how do we hold Mexico accountable? How do we hold China accountable if we're not effectively stopping it once it is inside of our country?
Well, the key to stopping or at least reducing the amount that's coming in is first we have to work with China to have greater restrictions on the precursor chemicals that are being sent to Mexico, in addition to targeting the companies or the chemical companies in China that are knowingly working with the Mexican cartels. Mexico's part comes in, they have to more aggressively target the cartels. That primarily would be the Sinaloa cartel and the new Jalisco generation cartel. Now, there are other cartels involved in the production and distribution of fentanyl, but those are the two primary cartels that have to be neutralized in order to reduce the flow into the United States. So any plan that does not effectively include working with China to mitigate the threat on their end and working with Mexico to mitigate the threat on their end will not reduce the flow of fentanyl into the United States.
All right. So Michael, let's zoom out a little bit. Obviously, at the top of this, we talked about the three biggest issues, when it pertains to U.S.-Mexico relations. Do you think enough attention is being paid to what is really a multifaceted crisis at our southern border?
No, in my opinion, as a former DEA agent, we see a lot of attention placed on the police and DEA. How come they're not solving this problem? What many people don't understand is the complexity of the supply chain, that the center of gravity, where it all begins, is in China with the chemical companies that are knowingly working with Mexican cartels to flood America with fentanyl.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.